Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of Cleveland, Ohio's very own moonman, Scott Mescudi. However, everybody probably knows him as Kid Cudi. Either that, or you'll probably recognize him as the guy who went on SNL this weekend and performed in a dress. And boy, did he rock that dress. You go, Cudi. Cudi once again delivers on an album full of vibe tracks that either provide the listener with a great deal of energy, or it could bore the listener, depending on who's listening. I think it's definitely safe to say this is one of Cudi's best projects to come out in recent years. But let's start by addressing the name of the album, Man on the Moon 3. I think this album title is specifically made to generate sales. Nostalgia in this generation sells. It's everywhere. Rick Ross did it with Port of Miami. The Migos did it with Culture. Busta Rhymes, of all people, did it with Extinction Level Event. And now Kid Cudi gets to be added to that lovely roster of characters who's sequeling their albums. Now one can say that this album was actually scrapped and then brought back. But considering it's been 10 years since Cudi released Man on the Moon 2, I think it's kind of weird that he's coming back 10 years later with Man on the Moon 3. You could have very easily just called this The Chosen, and it would have still been a good album. You don't need the Man on the Moon title to make it any better. But I won't judge a book by its cover because this album was good. It's the weakest of the Man on the Moon series, but it is still one of his best albums to come out in recent years. Cudi has gone on record saying that he believes Man on the Moon 1 and 2 are untoppable, and I think that's what hurts this album to me. It sounds like he knew that. As a result, I think the album does suffer, feeling a little weak in some places. I did find myself enjoying every other song. You know, there were songs that I think a little bit more could have been done, or I felt that it kind of felt rushed. But from the songs I love, I really freaking love these songs. Tequila Shots is an excellent intro that gives us a hint as to what we're about to hear off of this album. Show Out is another great track featuring Pop Smoke's drill energy and Pop Smoke himself. I also enjoy features from Skepta, Phoebe Bridgers is on here, Trippie is on here, all artists that really help complement the sound of this album, which is, again, vibes full of big energy, or vibes that are boring. Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I didn't think this was the most average experimental hip-hop album I have ever heard. I really think this album was released because Cudi saw an opportunity and he took it. Kids See Ghosts was successful in 2018. The Scots was successful. The Adventures of Moonman and Slim Shady did really well. What's the next move? Obviously make an album while the iron's still hot. Listen, I don't want to sound too critical of this album because this album was really good, but I think a lot of the problems that stem from this album come from previous releases. I think Cudi really underplayed this album, and I think it could have been so much more than what we got. I think it is certainly worth giving a listen, but I also don't think it's one of his best projects to date. Man on the Moon 3 gets 2 scratches out of 5. From a traditional album standpoint, I really liked what I heard. But from an experimental standpoint, I think this album is missing a few things that could make it a better listen. Long story short, if you're a Kid Cudi fan, you will love this. If you're a traditional hip-hop fan, you will like this. And if you are an experimental hip-hop fan who listens to Childish Gambino, you can skip this.